Right, what's up everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Bodybuilding and Business podcast. My name is JJ Richards, I'm the host, and I'm very excited for today's guest. So today we have got ex-Special Forces veteran, a multiple bodybuilding champion, and now a successful gym owner, coach, and entrepreneur, Mr. Lindsay Bruce. How's it going, mate?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm very honoured.
No problem. So we actually go back quite a long way, and I don't think we've spoken for a couple of years now, so it's obviously good to get you on and have a catch up as well, because I was trying to think of the date, because I remember the first time we met was when I came over to your gym when you had Flex Lewis over.
It was a Flex seminar, wasn't it? And I think, if I remember right, because it was just before, it was during his prep for the British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I believe that was 2011.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought 2011, 2012 in my head. So
yeah, I think it was 2011. I'm sure it was.
So it's scary to think that was 10 years ago.
Well, actually, you know what? It was 2012. You're right. It was 2012.
Okay.
I competed in the British 2011, and it was after that, definitely. So yeah, it was 2012.
And that day still like comes back to like one of the greatest days ever, because I remember I was a young, ambitious fanboy, and I remember you said to me, do you want to come out for some lunch afterwards with Flex and Neil and a few others?
Yeah,
and I was like, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember sat there as a young 20-year-old kid, like sat next to Flex Lewis eating our steak and chips in that restaurant, and never forget that.
I mean, Flex was well known then. I mean, he was a pro. He hadn't won his first 202 at the time before the 212. So he was still quite a rookie pro at the time, and it was really his moment. I think that show that he turned up for that year when he did his prep, he'd had a couple of years away to come back after making improvements, and he hit it with a real bang. Absolutely. And when you think back now to that whole experience, because it was a very intimate experience, because
it was, yeah,
there was a fair few people at the seminar. I mean, it sold out within a couple of days, but the at the end of the seminar when we all went for food and stuff like that, and there was just a handful of us. Yeah, and I think now you can really appreciate that now, looking back, seeing how far he's come. He's a superstar, and the fact that we had that privilege of getting together and having that real intimate sort of experience, having dinner, shooting the shit with him, it was really, really good. And
he still remembers me every time I go to like the expo and I see him, I say hello. He still always remembers me from that. So yeah,
we got him back after that. We got him back in 2015.
Okay.
Just after my little boy was born, actually, because he was just a tiny baby. So that was like 3 years later, and I think he'd won a couple of 212s by that point.
Yeah.
And same thing. He was still the same guy. It was nice to see. Yeah.
Good. So obviously, I'm interested to know a little bit more about your journey in life, because I know it's been quite an interesting one. So I'm kind of keen to go back to your days in the military. So firstly, just a question. I'm ex-military myself. Obviously, I know the reasons I joined, but I'm keen to know yourself. What was the actual reason that made you join the army?
Well, I come from a strong military family. So my dad and his two brothers were on the Royal Highland Fusiliers. My two older brothers then joined the same regiment, and I was the youngest out of four. There was two older brothers and an older sister. And I grew up in Fort William, which if the viewers don't know where that is, it's famous for having the mountain Ben Nevis at its doorstep. So it's a small town in the northwest of Scotland, and a beautiful place, but there's not much to really do there as far as career aspirations. And I was really bad in school, as in like I didn't do well in school at all. I had attention deficit throughout my whole school days. Still got it now actually, but it's just improved. But back then, I didn't do very well at school. School was not a good time for me. It was okay, social wise, but as far as from an educational standpoint, I just didn't do very well in school. I didn't really go for the last year. Subsequently, sat no exams. I left school with 0 qualifications, but I did have a drive to do well. This is a funny thing, it was like the academic system didn't really suit me. I never really got it. I didn't really pick it up. I didn't concentrate very well. I was always in a world of my own in school. I would rather be doing other things.
Yeah.
So when it come to my aspirations, I always had a drive to make money. That was one thing. I worked from the age of 13. I always bought my own clothes and my own stuff. You know, I got semi-supported by my mum and dad, but they never had much money. You know, very modest sort of environment within the family household. My brothers had both left to join the army. And I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't quite know. I'd been in the Army Cadets, so that was where my first experience of the military that I got from, you know, from a personal standpoint. And, you know, I was mega keen when I was a cadet. And when I left school, I had a couple of jobs that I kind of enjoyed. You know, I did a few factory jobs and stuff like that when I first left school. I worked in a fish factory, a prawn factory. That was absolute dog shit. That was terrible. You know, I knew that was never going to be a long-term thing. It was just to earn a bit of coin. But then I started off as an apprentice welder in an engineering workshop in Fort William, and I loved that. You know, I actually really liked the job. But I always remember this one occasion where, you know, I'd get my little pay packet in the Friday, and me and the lads, I was obviously like the baby of the bunch, and me and the lads would go down to the pub, and I wasn't even old enough to drink. I was like 16. We go to the pub on a Friday, and I remember this one particular day, I had a moment of clarity. You know, it was weird. People say they have that, but I genuinely did have one. I was stood in the local boozer, and I felt like, I'm the man. You know, I am the man. I'm drinking with the lads. I've got my money. They'd all buy me drinks because I didn't really get paid much then. I had about 20 quid in my pocket at the end of the week. And I had a couple of pints, and then I looked at them, and these guys were all in their 30s and that, you know. They looked about 45. But I remember thinking to myself, you know, you have that sort of time machine moment. You go,
absolutely, yeah.
This is going to be me in like 10, 15 years time. If I stick with this now, if I make this my path, that'll be me. And no offense to them, but I just didn't aspire to be like that. That was their life, you know. It was like work all week, go to the pub, on the weekend, back to work on the Monday, maybe work overtime at the weekend, very Groundhog Day. And that just wasn't me at all. So another thing that I actually mentioned this in another podcast, another little bit of a down moment for me was when I wanted to join the military. So I knew I wanted to do something, and I thought, okay, I could join the Royal Highland Fusiliers, which was what my brothers were in, what my dad had been in, what my uncles had been in. That was where the history was. But I had this thought of, I want to do something a little bit different, you know. So I thought, and I didn't really know much about other regiments, but I thought I'll either join the Marines or I'll join the Parachute Regiment. The Marines had quite a strong background in Fort William anyway. There'd been quite a few local guys joined the Marines. There was one guy in particular, I remember, I think his name is Billy Rogers. He doesn't even know me, I don't think, but he was older than me, and he was the guy who had the record for like the Ben Nevis race. And guys like that, I thought, you know, he must be really fit to be in the Marines and stuff. And obviously he's probably one of, you know, a one-off as far as being that fit. But I had this little bit of a moment where I thought, I want to join the Marines. So I sent off for all the details, applied to join, and it's a bit embarrassing because there was no careers office in Fort William. There was no career office to go to. So they used to run the interviews at the job centre, the local job centre. So they said to me, we're going to send someone down to do the interview. But I had kind of let all this get to my head, and I didn't really concentrate that well. And all these guys that knew someone who had been in the Marines or someone's brother had been in, friends of mine, they were saying, no, you have to be able to do all these fitness things like pull-ups and all this sort of stuff. You got to be able to do like 20 pull-ups. So I'm in the gym, and I was at the gym by this point. I was well keen into my fitness. So I was really into my fitness from a very young age. So I'd run to work, I'd lift weights, I'd eat egg weights and all that sort of weird shit when I was about 15.
Style.
You know, I was actually quite hardcore when I was about 15, 16 into bodybuilding. So I got this idea in my head that I was going to be tested on fitness on the first day. Turns up at the careers office, and there was this older guy there who's the recruiting officer. And I turned up in a tracksuit, and he says, why are you dressed in a tracksuit? I says, well, I'm ready to do my pull-ups and stuff. He just laughed. He says, no, that's not today. This is just this is an entry exam. You know, you need to pass this bit before you do that part, and you've got to go away for the weekend and all this. So anyway, I sat this entrance exam, and I failed the maths test. right? So past all the sort of general knowledge, like the aptitude stuff, like the IQ stuff, but the maths test let me down. I didn't know how to do maths because I hadn't gone to school. Didn't know any maths formulas. Didn't have a clue. So I failed the entrance exam to join the Marines. So I was in a downer. And then when my brothers got wind of this, they were like, "What do you want to join the Marines for anyway? You're not joining the Marines. Come and join the RHF," which was the regiment they were in. So they took me up to the careers office at Inverness and told the recruitment officer what I was joining before he even sat the exam.
Yeah.
I was supposed to join the RHF, get him signed up. And honestly, within about 4 weeks, I was in the army. A lot quicker than it is today. So I joined the army. It was something I wanted to do. I was just given that extra nudge by my 2 older brothers. And I saw what they were doing. They were doing really well. They were posted in Germany. They were buying new cars. They always had money. Yeah. And I loved that sort of, the thought of doing that myself. So that's really how my army career started. That's how I then, got my foot in the door really and got my army career off to a start.
It's interesting because I think, from my experience in the army, I was only in for 5 years, but there's kind of like 2 groups. It's either the ones that have got family in the army, they've done the cadets and they've joined the army through that way, or there's the other ones, which was the category I was in, didn't do well at school, bit of a rogue growing up, got in a lot of trouble. I need to join the army to sort myself out. But it seems that you were kind of a mix of both of them.
Yeah.
When you went in.
Absolutely. I was, yeah. So the thing is there are different people for different tasks, right? So like when you've got a company, there's someone who's going to be really good at one job, terrible at another. And then conversely, someone else is going to be good and bad the opposite way. And that's just life, and you need people who want to be like shop floor workers for the rest of their life. You need those people that are going to be really good at what they do. And that I've got respect for that. And they're obviously the ones that are natural leaders, the ones that are good at IT, good at management, and that's what makes a good team. So when it comes to the military, for me anyway, it went from trying to get things done academically. I mean, the only things I was really good at school were art, technical drawing, woodwork, and metalwork.
Yeah.
So I was always a very good artist from a very young age. I was talented artistically.
Okay.
But that doesn't help you with things like maths and English.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the mainstream subjects in school, I switched off to it a long time before I even left. And when it come to joining the army, there were still things within the military syllabus that I struggled with initially because it was slightly academic.
Yeah.
But all the practical stuff, I was flying. I was like a duck to water. That's one thing. I was very much the natural soldier.
Yeah.
I was fit. I could adapt to things. So it's like anything. When you get good at something, you want to do it more.
Yeah.
And when you want to do it more and you do it well, that you grow in confidence. I actually teach a system now within my client group. It's all about the belief cycle.
Okay.
You don't know what potential you've got until you tap into it. If you tap into it and release a lot of potential by taking massive action, you get a great result. That will then increase your belief systems that will then allow you to then release more potential. So it all goes around in a circle like that. And that's when you gather momentum, obviously. So with the army, I found that I was good at it early on, which then made me want to progress further, faster.
And obviously, when you mentioned it, you wasn't very good at school. You didn't go to last year. Did you struggle in regards to the discipline aspect of then joining the army and having to kind of get that discipline?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's different. I would say I wasn't bad at school. I wasn't a naughty kid.
Okay.
I just, I was on a support card. You had support cards and behavior cards. One was yellow, one was blue. I was in the yellow one, which is a support card.
Okay.
That was basically, this guy. In fact, I don't even know this guy's still alive, but there was a guy called Mr. Crossley, right? He was like the support teacher at the high school I went to. The guy was a legend. Looking back, the guy had a heart of gold. He really, really wanted the kids under his wing to do well. And he was like a mentor who had the hardest job in that school. He had all the naughty kids, all the ones that weren't very good, me included.
Yeah. And
thinking back, the guy was passionate about his job, and I liked him. He was a really good egg. And he tried with me, but he was fighting a losing battle because there just wasn't enough infrastructure there for the whole support to work. He was a one-man band trying to spin too many plates, and it was a challenge for him. So when it comes to discipline, you know, I was never a bad kid. I was never cheeky. I was everyone is at some stage, but I'd have got my ass kicked if my mum and dad had been told that I'd mouthed off to a teacher, I'd have got my ass handed to me.
Okay.
So when it comes to discipline in general, you know, I was brought up very well. My mum and dad were good parents. Both really always did their best. Like I say, we never had much financially, but we never went without food. Never went without safety, love. You know, so hats off to them. They did a really good job with all of us, really. And we all turned out well, so they must have done something right. But with regards to discipline to the army, because I had so much respect for the military, I had so much respect for the instructors. You know, I was in awe. I just wanted to be like that. It wasn't like teachers at school were. I've got respect for them now, obviously, as an adult, but at the time, you know, they were probably up against it as well. When I think about it, the system probably let them down as much as it let me down. And they probably tried their best. And I suppose they probably get to a point in their career where they think, oh, fuck, I'm just going to concentrate on the ones that are concentrating.
Yeah.
Fuck the rest. You know, the support guy can deal with the dross. So, you know, I've got empathy there. But the discipline side of things with the army, as soon as I joined, I knew what to do. I mean, the first week, I've told this story before as well. It was me and a guy called Dougie Hepburn, who's a very good friend of mine. In our intake in the army, when you get the lesson on, you know, when you get the lesson when you learn about all the other factions in the army, like different regiments, and corps, and attachments, and all that. We did that lesson, and the last view foil slide to come up was the regiment, was the SAS.
Okay.
And platoon commander, he said, anyone know what this is? And I was like, yes, it's the SAS. And he says, has anyone in this room ever aspired to join the SAS? This is the pinnacle of the British Army, pinnacle of the world's military.
Absolutely.
And then me and one guy, Dougie Hepburn, two of us put our hands up, no one else did.
Yeah.
I never forget that. So the first week in the army, I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
As soon as I can join that, I'm joining that. And at the time as well, my oldest brother he was going for selection at the time.
Okay.
And I idolized him, you know, he was like my hero.
Yeah.
Still is in a lot of ways, you know, still get massive amounts of respect for both my brothers. But he was more the mainstream guy in the army, so he was going for selection, and I thought I want to emulate that. You know.
So how long did it take then for obviously you putting your hands up to actually getting into the SAS?
It was 5 years.
Okay.
5 years, yeah. 5 years, because I did selection at 22. I joined the army at 17, did selection at 22.
Okay, wow. And obviously you had quite an interesting career. You know, you served in Northern Ireland, Kosovo, Bosnia, Afghan, Iraq, pretty much all of the conflict areas.
Yeah.
Out of all of those, which one was the worst?
Worst of the best.
What's considered good?
Different, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't give you a straight answer. What do you mean? Which was the worst, as in with the most conflict?
Yes.
Hands down, Iraq.
Okay.
At the time I was there.
It's at the early stages of Iraq as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in Afghanistan, you know, we get tasks in Afghanistan to do certain things, but it was like, I always remember it felt like you'd missed the party, because like the Americans had been in a lot of shit fights down there, and we turned up and we cleared certain areas over a lengthy period of time, and I'll be honest with you, nothing really happened then. It wasn't really we didn't really do that much as far as, you know, a two-way range is concerned. There wasn't much happened at all. But when it come to Iraq, that was a different ball game altogether. And there was two sides of that. Obviously, there was the war fighting element of when it kicked off in 2003, which was the desert element, and then there was the Baghdad element. Yeah. And other elements passed around Baghdad. Two very different jobs altogether. You know, one was out in the desolate desert, and the other was in an urban environment. You know, busy every night.
So I see, obviously, on your social media, on your Facebook and Instagram, you can't talk openly about being in the special forces, because obviously certain things you can't talk about, but you do obviously post it out there in regards to, this is what I've done, etc. So I've been. And what was your decision, obviously, to be so open about it? Do you feel like there's an element of risk involved in being that open about it?
Honestly, JJ, you know what? I'm glad you asked that, because it's one of those ones that I kept quiet for a long time. I kept quiet for a hell of a long time regarding my, I mean, for example, there was a girl who I know, right? A girl called Tina. She lives in America now. And we speak quite a lot, you know, we've been mates for years. And I always remember I put up a post, and I think it was probably the first post that I'd kind of openly said it was that I was in the SAS. And it was probably only like a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 3 years ago. And she mentioned, "Oh my God," she goes, "You in the SAS?" I was like, "Yeah." But I just never said it. She never told me. I was like, "You never asked."
Yeah.
Not that that's something you should automatically assume about somebody, but because you wouldn't do that. But most people didn't know what I did. I didn't really tell a lot of people. Part of the reason was because when I went into business, become a bodybuilder, I thought, you know, I don't want to have to use this to carve my path. It's like I'm my own person. It's something I've done, but it doesn't define me.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't define me as a person, because it's a massive part of what I did, huge part of what I did. And I wanted to make my own. I wanted to prove to myself that I could be successful in business, be successful as an athlete, without having to, you know, put that on a label on my head to say, "Oh, this is why people should respect me," or it's not about that for me. It's nothing about that. It's, but anyway, but when it comes to the transition between being really quiet about it and then being open about it, one, because every other fucker was doing it.
Okay.
It became an open thing, and really for me, this is where it changed. Had a conversation with a few people, and a couple of ex-regiment guys that I've got a lot of respect for as well. And it was mostly people who I used to work with, people who were maybe still in, or people had gotten out, and they were even confused. They were saying, "Why don't you use your background to promote yourself, your business, yourself?" You know, I was like, you know, I was always a bit too humble. You know, it was like, "Oh, you know, I don't really want to do that. It's not what you do." Yada yada yada. You're like, "Why not? Why not?" And there's someone says, "Well, you can help more people in that way." And I says, "You know what? I had a bit of a condor moment, and for me, the turning point was that what do I do? What am I in the business for? Right? You're not in business. No one should get into business to make money unless they want to do stock exchange and something to do with purely financial. So if it's sales you're into, that's fine. But the thing is, the point behind everything you make money from should come from something you love doing, because the money will then become a byproduct of what you love to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to chase that. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They obsess over fucking like money and figures and how much they want to go towards. The thing is, if you do that, you end up losing focus from why you're in it in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, this is the fitness industry in general comes from and the coaching business, the coaching industry should come from a place of contribution. It should come from a place where you go, you know what, I want to help people go from there to there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the thing is, you know, as a coach as well, you've trained a lot of people. You've done this yourself for a long time. You know, you've been a competitive athlete for a long time, as long as I've known you. So you know how that journey feels to go from A to B, and you know what it feels like to witness someone else who's there and then gets to there, and then says, you know, thanks for, you know, facilitating this journey and guiding me through it. Because there's massive fulfillment in that when you know for a fact that you have genuinely turned someone's life around. And in a lot of ways, it's not even an exaggeration to say you've saved someone's life, because it's not that they're going to die or anything necessarily. I just mean that, one, you could have added years onto their life by making them healthy. And two, whilst they are living life, they're happier, more fulfilled people by following advice and taking action to get the result that you've allowed them to.
Absolutely. I would say the job satisfaction in the fitness industry is just massive, because what you're doing on people's lives is massively impactful.
And I've spoken to people though and got an impression that's not like that though. I've spoken to people in the past that don't think that way, and as a result of that, they don't genuinely enjoy it. And I would say, you know, if you're someone who's in the fitness industry, if you are a personal trainer, a coach, if you genuinely do not spring out of bed in the morning, excited to help the people that you have got under your wing. Do something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not in the right game.
You do something you love, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. I forget what the original question was there.
So you're just talking about obviously you coming out and being open.
Yeah. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Perfect.
But by being more overt about what I did, because at the end of the day, that what I did is then there. The skill set I have, the knowledge I have, and the experience I have, no one can take that away from me.
Absolutely. And
right. So
do you find now that obviously like people are aware of it? Do you find that like people are more curious when they're having conversations? There's always something in the back of the head, questions they want to ask, but they're not. They don't necessarily want to ask it. Because I know even from me, from my point of view, ex-military, etc. I see special forces as the absolute pinnacle. I remember when we first got talking. I found out you were in the special forces. Like you kind of went from here to here in my expectations because for me, I had the utmost respect for people that did that because I understand what it takes to get in there. And obviously, I know the civilians kind of mindset around it, and it's always. I don't know how many times, because even for me in the army, people's first question to me, even though, I never actually went on the front line, they were saying, have you ever killed anybody? It's the first question people ask. So I imagine, from your aspect of being in the special forces, it was always that curiosity, but necessarily whether people are, going to ask the question or not.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to ask who asked that question.
Exactly. Honestly, I've probably been asked that. I would say I've been asked that question maybe like 50 times in my life. And it's just curiosity because, from the outside looking in, they don't quite understand, what it is. I was chatting to someone the other day and talking about the different trades involved in the army. And they were like, I had no idea that the army kind of had that infrastructure of trades. We've got our own chefs, we've got our own engineers, we've got people that do the communications. Like it's a whole infrastructure of trades. It's not just standing there with your rifle on the front line.
Yeah, it's what you don't know, do you? And people are kind of, if you look at things, especially to do with the SAS, for example, I mean, the world has moved on. So I'm not sure where you stand in this, but when I was a kid, I knew who the SAS were as a kid because of the Iranian embassy siege. I don't even really remember that because that was I was just a toddler really when that happened. But when you think about the film Who Dares Wins, the Lewis Collins movie, in the mid-80s, early to mid-80s, I forget what year that came out, but that was my first experience of what the SAS did. That was the SAS to me, guys in black kit and respirators. And then there was the Action Man that was like from that movie, and I had that. So the SAS was something I knew about from a young age. So, and then when I joined the army, the famous book at the time, and still very famous this day, was the Bravo 20 book.
Yeah. Probably one of only a few books that I've actually ever sat there and read.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good book. I mean, there are different reasons as to why I don't like that book, and that's more personal to me and other people who were in my squadron, because Bravo 20 was obviously B squadron. And I know one of the guys who was in that patrol, and I know a lot about what happened.
Okay.
But regardless how you look at that story, that book, and that the facts of that event, or what's in the book, it really put the SAS on the map publicly after the whole Iranian embassy siege thing had become yesterday's news.
Yeah.
That was then the limelight news at the time. Then there was the Chris Ryan book, the one that got away, really good book, awesome individual, what he did to get back to Syria from being in the middle of the Iraq. I mean, I don't know if you ever read that book. Have you ever heard?
I haven't read that one. No, I've read the Andy McNabb ones, but I've not read that one.
What he had to go through to get back to the war RV, which was Syria, is something else.
What's that called? Chris
Ryan. He's actually on. He's got a podcast actually. Chris Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called XSS. I think it's called Life and Death.
Okay.
Ryan, but his handle on Instagram is XSAS Chris Ryan. Nice guy.
Get one out.
Really nice guy. And So really, you had these two books coming around early 90s. I joined the army in 94. So that was me like obsessed about, and that got me really obsessed about the SAS at the time. But nowadays, that's what I was going to say. So fast forward to now, people that are joining the regiment now, like with the age I was maybe when I joined, or a little bit older, they grew up in the digital age.
Yeah.
They grew up with the internet, with Facebook, with Instagram, some of them. It's a different world. So what they perceive the SAS as being as a first insight is probably things like SAS Who Dares Wins.
Yeah, because that's a question that I was going to ask you, because obviously, Ant Middleton's kind of like the poster boy for the special forces now, and has obviously glamorized it a lot with, these various different programs. Like, as someone that's been there and done it, like, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, I try to look at the good in everything. I'm not one of those people who just sits back and criticizes from my armchair.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. It's not really what I'm about. I don't think it's good for your own mind. I think to sit there and slag other people off from any angle, the only person you're going to end up hurting is yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, I've come away from that type of shit a long time ago. Hence why I'm very much into my personal development, my own mindset, and I try to promote that as best I can. I don't mind taking the piss tongue in cheek. That's a different story altogether. And most of these things I would say to the people that are actually saying it about, right? Because there's no malice in that. A couple of things you got to look at here, right? And this is from my own standpoint. From that program, for example, I mean, I was asked to do that program right in the beginning.
Okay.
I was one of the ones that was asked to be a DS in that program. Okay. At the time, I turned it down. I turned it down for reasons that I still stand by today. I just I wasn't really feeling it. I didn't think it was going to be any good.
Yeah.
And I thought the first series, I didn't really watch much of it, but what I did see, it was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And I still say that today. And that's not me being critical of anyone individually on that team. It was a pilot for other things to come, and it was all new. There was probably certain constraints in place. I just don't think it came across that well. And to be fair, it has improved dramatically since that, obviously.
Okay.
So I turned that down, and I watched from a distance to see how that went. Billy, who is on SAS Who Dares Wins, Mark Billingham, is a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Huge respect for Billy. He's a great bloke. He's a real deal. He's authentic. He is like that, and real, like what you see is what you get. I've got massive amounts of respect for Billy. Billy took me through select. He was one of my DS on selection. And also he was in the same squadron. He was a squadron sergeant major. I've got huge amounts of respect for Billy, and I don't really know any of the other guys apart from Ollie. Ollie I've met once, and I speak to him now and then. Really nice bloke. But other than that, I don't know anyone else on that team. But in general, if you look at that program, you cannot ignore the success it's had. Right. So I'm talking about this now from a very neutral standpoint, from being ex-regiment myself, and being as honest and real as I can about what I would say about that program.
Yeah.
And that is that it's had huge success. It's very popular, and it's helped the guys that are on that team make success stories by themselves as well. Books, and however you look at it, right, everyone's got to fucking earn money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's got to earn a crust, and they're not doing anything. They're not giving anything away. They're making entertaining TV for billions. The program itself, if you look at some of the stories that from people, I mean, I've not watched much of it, but from what I can understand, there are people going on that for personal challenges, and they've never been in the military. They're never going to be in the military. Some might be going on it to really break through things and prove to themselves they can challenge themselves in something. Yeah. And you cannot ignore the fact that it's probably given a lot of people some breakthrough moments. It's given them new careers. It's made a lot of them very popular on social media, which subsequently ends in money. At the end of the day, there's no harm being done. And the other thing I was going to say is that when it comes to the regiment being, if they get funny about all this sort of stuff, no matter how you look at it, it's helped recruitment for the regiment.
Yeah, okay.
It's a recruitment drive.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I've never looked at it from that aspect, to be fair, in regards to the
People watch
recruitment.
that program and they go, "Oh shit, I want to be in the, I want to do that." Then they obviously turn up and then it's fucking totally different.
Yeah.
It's nothing like, but, you know, I've got respect for the guys that are on that. I know Ant Middleton's just been sacked off that, which I don't know the ins and outs of it. I wouldn't even comment on it, you know, but I don't wish bad on the guy. Don't know him. Oh, sorry, mate, I've got my little boy with me.
That's all right, mate.
So yeah, best of luck to all those guys, really. To be honest with you.
So obviously moving in on them from like your military career. So obviously you left the army, left the special forces. So how did you find that transition from military life to civilian life? Because obviously I know some people seem to do really well, and then obviously some people really, really struggle with that concept of change. How did you personally find it?
I'm still struggling. Nah, honestly, it's a very different world, and I must admit I did struggle, I would say, for quite a bit of time.
Okay.
And that's not in a way that I'm like being all John Rambo-ish, you know, not from that side. It's not about that. It's about just the way you have to approach things. People are very different in civilian street. And although you always mix with civilians your whole life, when you're in an environment all the time, surrounded by people who are the same as you or similar, and then you have to go into, I mean, I went into business, obviously. I mean, I went from the military to a job. Yeah. In that job, there was mainly ex-military, but we had to work with clients who were civilians. Yeah. So it was a bit of a hybrid environment for me. And then I went into business, which was all civilian.
Yeah. So you kind of did, you transitioned quite well, because it was bodyguarding, wasn't it, that you went, was that your first job when you left the army?
Jobs, yeah. So the first job I did when I left the regiment was, I was actually a training I was a training consultant and instructor for a company that was run by an ex-regiment guy, actually. Okay. And we used to train like the media groups, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. We used to run like hostile regions training. So that's the first job I did, was hostile environment training. We used to run courses. So I did that for a little bit, and then to do that job, you had to get the experience. So I went out to Iraq for the first time. Like I say, I was always a hands-on kind of guy. You know, I wanted to be on the ground. I wanted to be on, you know, where it was at. And I went out to Baghdad on a trip with that job. Okay. I met a guy there, a guy called Jeff Newport, who was a really good bloke, and I clicked with really well. And he was out there all the time. He was a team leader. And he says, "Why don't you just go freelance and you can come out here more? Because otherwise I'd only be out once a year." Okay, yeah. And I liked it. I mean, it was being away from my family and stuff, but the money was better and you were on the ground, you were doing the job. So I ended up kind of left the job and I went from being on the books to self-employed. Bit of a risk at the time, but it was better money. Yeah. And obviously when you're home, you get your time off. So I ended up working in Baghdad for about 18 months. Okay. I worked for a company that were contracted to CNN News. Okay, yeah. So we'd look after the correspondents when they go out in the ground, conduct recce's, provide security within the villa that we lived at, which was in the red zone. Yeah. And we just conduct all security. And we were basically the security team for the CNN bureau in Baghdad. Okay, wow. And I went from that to then did a job in Afghanistan. And then intermittently between that and going to the gym, getting to open the gym, I did lots of different things, including like A-list close protection for like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie. Okay. I did a lot of TV stuff as well within about a sort of 6 to 8 months period. And then I opened the gym after that, you know. Perfect. So what was the decision to obviously open the gym? How did that come about? I decided to open the gym when I was still in the military. It was something I wanted to do because, like I said earlier, I was really obsessed with bodybuilding when I was about 14, 15. Yeah. And it was always there. I did boxing and stuff like that as well. When I was in the military, I turned to boxing because bodybuilding wasn't really an option in the army, as you know. Absolutely, yeah. You can't get the consistency. So when it come to open the gym, I had this idea in my mind. A seed had been kind of planted because I was on a trip actually when I was still in the military, when I was still in the regiment. I was on a small team task, and I used to drive down to a Canadian base.
Okay.
In Kabul. So down the bottom of the city, I used to drive down there and use their gym because they had an awesome gym. So I'd drive in there, and I was just walking around it one day, and I was seeing how basic the setup was, but how good it was at the same time. And I thought, there's nothing like this in Hereford at all. And there's no gyms really. There's no decent gyms. So in my mind, I was thinking, if I was to get out, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
And there's a few things changed for me. My life was changing. My outlook and things started to drift a little bit. I loved the regiment, but I had done 6 years at that point. So like, I'd done the whole cycle a few times. I'd been on the team a few times. I'd been on ops, and obviously I joined at a very busy time. You know, I joined right in the beginning of the turn of the century, which was then when things started to heat up.
Yeah.
So my time in the regiment was busy. You know, I went a lot of places, did a lot when I was there. So I almost like I got my fill. I was never chasing the rank and all that. I mean, I got the ranks when I was in, but you know, for the time I was there, to be expected. But at the same time, I was never like a rank chaser. Like, I didn't have any future aspirations to be the RSM or anything. You know,
okay.
that may have happened if I'd have stayed in, but it was never something. I joined the regiment to do the job of a regiment, so a trooper.
Yeah.
You know, I went there to be an SAS soldier, an operator, to get the experience. You know, and I think most people, I can probably speak for most people that join the regiment, they end up in ranks, but they don't join for that reason. So for me, it was all about being a soldier and experiencing that you know, that whole life, which I did for a good amount of time. But then I just had this epiphany one day. I thought, you know, I think it's time. And it's like with anything else in life, you've left a job in the past, you know the score. It goes from thinking about it and not being too sure to just knowing that it's the time.
Yeah.
And for me, I just knew it was a time to move on. That was what I wanted to do. So I had something etched in my mind that was a plan. And I thought, okay, in order to get financially set up for that, I need to earn money.
Absolutely, yeah.
The best way to do that was to go and do security work, which was good pay.
Yeah.
So I spent like about 18 months saving up.
So obviously that process then of opening a gym, what were the biggest challenges that you faced?
I didn't know anything about business.
Okay.
You know, and
that's a big challenge.
Yeah, and you learn that, and I'm still learning. You know, 15 years later, I'm still learning that. And we've got a special guest on the. He's trying to get.
Man, I'm at school. I'm enjoying the piece.
He's not been very well today, but
God bless him.
So I would say a lot of naivety, even though I'd been in the military for 11 years and I'd done all that stuff. It's a completely different world. Yeah. You know, when I left the army, you know, I had to be told that I had to book myself into the dentist, that no one was going to do it for me. That type of stuff. And when it comes to business, and I had this passion about bodybuilding, about fitness, about helping people, about creating something that would be better than anything else that existed at the time.
Yeah.
But as far as the business side of things go, you know, marketing, sales, accounts, bookkeeping, I was clueless. And I think you need a bit of both. You know, you do need both. At least you need one person that's good at that and one person that's good at the other thing. And at the time, I didn't have the luxury of hiring a manager, a salesperson, a marketing manager.
Yeah.
There was no social media then to do social media marketing anyway, so it was just flyers and
old-fashioned guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, it was real old-fashioned marketing. You know all about that, obviously. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge was learning about business. And then the other thing was the fact that, you know, that whole expression, which I hate, which is if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That ain't the case. You know, you can build it and no one will come. Yeah. They don't know about it. So it's about getting that message out there. And that's the biggest lesson for me really, was that I didn't budget for things like marketing to get people through the door, you know. So that was the biggest challenge really, was about learning the business side of things, the admin.
So how did you learn then? So obviously you didn't have the tools back then like you have now. You know, there's Facebook courses, Instagram courses, left, right, and center. But obviously back then, how you know, what resources and tools did you use to learn?
I learned by making a lot of mistakes and having a lot of disappointment and having a lot of uncertainty, anxiety, and out and out worry financially. Because if people had just flooded in the door, probably the worst thing that had happened to me, because I wouldn't have learned anything. I'd just be expected. I just thought, this is easy. People come rolling through the door, then there's no need to really learn by mistakes. Whereas when you don't get that influx and you don't make that money, you need to find the ways how you can.
Absolutely.
So it must have been like, I mean, I started off again thinking from the customer perspective, which you should do obviously, but I thought, okay, if I open a gym and I don't have contracts and I don't make it expensive, people will just join eat. I'll get more members. I mean, completely the opposite of what I think these days. I mean, I'm the complete opposite these days. And it just didn't happen that way. People didn't flood in the door. And when they did, it wasn't necessarily always the right type of clientele.
Yeah.
So I started off doing cheap £25 memberships and no contracts. Then what happens? People just come and go as they like. They go on a holiday, they cancel the membership, start it back up again when they come back. You get no control. And the other thing as well is trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a chicken and egg thing, right? If you don't have the finances to employ people, then you can't get the work done professionally. But if you don't have the experience or the people to do that, then you don't move forward without a lot of pain. So one of the first things I did was get contracts in place, and then that was the first major thing that I learned. And then after that, it was just about how to market. I mean, there was a lot of confusion. I'll be honest with you, JJ. For a long time, I'm talking like years, I confused myself of what I wanted to do and where I wanted the business to go. I was asking myself questions constantly about, what do I really want from this business? Who do I want to attract? Where do I want it to go? There was a lot of uncertainty for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I just started this gym to be a gym that I thought would be cool.
Yeah.
And you saw the basic version of my business.
Because it was called Pyramid back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was actually it slightly evolved by then. The very first version of it was so basic.
Yeah, because I remember you bought all like secondhand equipment initially, and then I know when I went, it was after like kind of an upgrade that you did, and there was like new cardio kit. Yeah, because I remember it being really good when I went over there.
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. We had a little hammer strength installed and stuff. We got had a bit of a refurb. That was the first major refurb that we did. Yeah. But then obviously, fast forward after like 10 years of being in that old unit down where it used to be, I then got the opportunity to move and relocate to a bigger place nearer town, huge premises.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a do or die moment, because at the time we had a lot of competition started to come out of the woodwork. There was like franchise clubs opening all over the place. We had a Snap Fitness, Anytime Fitness.
Yeah.
There was one other gym open. There's a Pure Gym open recently as well. But now they could open 10 of them and it'd still be like, I'm still doing my thing.
Good.
They're not, it's not the same. Okay, you potentially, they've got some of your markets. It's ignorant to think that. But at the same time, you got to be really true to what you want to promote and what you want to do with your business, who you want to help, how you want to help them. Yeah. So that's evolved massively.
So what was the decision around the rebrand? Was that when you moved to a new location, you kind of wanted a new brand?
It was round about the time. I tell you who it was. Nick Orton, who owns BodyPuilding.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with Nick, because I used to do a bit with Nick years ago. I was one of his master trainers for the whole Physique Elite thing back in the day. Yeah. So I got to know Nick pretty well at the time, and people like Chris Gethin, Marika at the time as well, around about the same sort of time. And it was really through them that I got to know Nick. So when I spoke to Nick, I was at a time where I knew I needed a bit of help. I knew I wanted to go further, but I got to the point I thought, and this is just too unclear. I don't think my messaging is strong enough. I don't think it's really in line with me as a person. I don't think it says anything about me individually or what I want to achieve as a business. It's a very watery kind of image.
Yeah.
To Nick about it, and I said, look, I need some help with some marketing, some branding issues. I'm thinking of, rebranding my business. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about changing the name at that point. But he just brutally came back to me and says, I'll be honest with you, he says, you don't have a brand. You don't have a brand, and your logo is very crap, for want of a better word. He says, it just doesn't represent you. He says, if I were you, I'd go for a complete rebrand.
Okay.
Why not? And I thought, you know what? I was kind of half thinking it anyway. I thought, yeah, fuck it.
Did that feedback hurt, or did you take it on board?
No, it was good. I took it on board as a good thing. It was what I needed to hear. I've always been pretty good at taking criticism anyway like that. I know it come from the right place.
Yeah.
It come from a good place. Nicky even offered to help me. We met up and he gave me a bit of help. I didn't implement things essentially that he said to the T, but he gave me a few ideas. And then anyway, the name Elite Performance was just like, it just hit me all of a sudden. I was brainstorming names with a guy who used to work for me. And we were going through all sorts of names. They were kind of similar, but then as soon as I thought of Elite Performance,
yeah,
I was like, boom, nail it down. Let's do that. That's it.
And again, it's a strong name because, like you say, if you say, pyramid to people, they wouldn't necessarily know what it was. But if you say Elite Performance to 100 people, they're going to link it in with, sports performance, exercise training.
The thing is, Elite Performance from the performance side of things. Then you've got Elite, which is obviously in line with the regiment, the background. So Elite is part of what I come from. So I wanted that to flow into that, which it did. So when it comes to the branding of that, I had a guy who knocked about a bit of branding for me. I didn't do the whole massive branding exercise like I've done for the Modern Warrior program. Like the Modern Warrior branding took like months. It took months and a good bit of money to actually get to that point where you've got that logo and that brand.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work into it, but at the time with the elite performance thing, it was kind of like, get a graphics guy to design a few things. There's the color palette. There's the kind of idea that I want. And it was actually Phil Lerny who he actually designed my logo in about 5 minutes. So I sent Phil, because Phil was coaching me at the time, and I've become really good friends with Phil. And I sent Phil these logos. I said, what do you think of these logos? I said, which one? And he went, okay, give me a minute. And Phil actually is a qualified graphics designer.
Oh, okay.
From years ago.
Yeah.
And he sent me this logo back within about 5 minutes. He went, what do you think of that? And I was like, brilliant. He says, that's much better. And all he done was like extract part of the one letter from the E from the logo. Instead of being Elite, extracted that one letter and went, there you go, I think I should brand it. And it's changed slightly since then. I've went from like a 2-color to a 1-color. I've simplified it even more. And that's pretty much how the Elite Performance thing started. And I still love that logo, that brand now. But, the gym side of things, I've stepped away from that considerably now. So I still use a gym office. I oversee things, but I've got a full team. I've got like 7 staff. I've got a manager, really good manager. She's brilliant, and I've got a full team in there running the gym. So the gym runs by the team run the gym.
Okay.
Got coaches in place and stuff. So I don't coach on the gym floor anymore. Haven't for a while. I don't really get involved with it. It's just something that I obviously own the business, but I don't really work in the gym anymore at all.
And how has it been impacted recently, like in obviously the last 12 months with lockdown? How has that kind of looked? Are the membership still paying, or is everyone on freeze, or what does that look like?
We were really lucky. We've got a really loyal membership. And the thing is, I think you need transparency, 1, within your team, 2, between the team and the customer base.
Yeah.
People appreciate honesty. They appreciate transparency. And at the time when this all first happened, when no one really knew what it was about, what was going to happen, what was going to come of it, it was a mystery to all of us. And there was a lot of uncertainty, obviously, because no one really knew enough. No one could predict the future, right?
No, absolutely.
People have now settled into this as becoming like the dreaded saying the new normal kind of thing. But I hate that expression, but people have become, you have to adapt, don't you? People have to adapt or die. So initially, when we didn't know if there was going to be any support in place, any help financially, we had to kind of go with worst case scenario. Hold on, sorry, mate.
That's right, mate, no problem.
Oh, it's off, mate. That's all right. There you go. Sorry. I know.
100%.
There you go. It's okay, it's fine. Sorry. That's not plugged in, that's one. It's all right, it's fine. Anyway, so at that point we I just said to the members, it was one of those ones that said, look guys, I've had some people say what's going to happen in lockdown, can we freeze our memberships because you have people losing jobs and all that sort of, so they had their own issues. And I was just really honest and said, look guys, we can cancel all the memberships, we can freeze all the memberships, that's fine. If you really want to freeze your membership, I can do it for you. You can do what you want. Because if you're not using the gym, you can't be expected to pay. Here's the reality. If you all pay and you all continue to pay, you will help not just save the gym, but improve the gym.
Yeah.
The main thing is at the moment is survival. It's about survival through these times. Or at least if a percentage of people pay, it's going to help, right? So it's like, if you're in a position where you can pay and you feel like you want to, it will not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
However, if you can't afford it, then please don't feel like you have to. But the reality is, if we cancel all the memberships, there may not be a gym to come back to.
And I think actually, from what people, have been saying and what I've been hearing, I actually think that independent gyms now have the upper hand over large corporate gyms. And the reason why I say that is because of loyalty. Because, I've managed large, gym chains in the past, and people know that if they're paying into your gym, they know you, they know they're supporting you. There's a good feel and a good culture in that gym, which you don't have in a pure gym, a David Lloyd, because they just assume that these large, corporate gyms have got money trees in the back garden, which obviously they don't, because they don't have that loyalty to obviously the business, and they also don't have the face of the business, whereas you do. I think that now the independent gyms are actually doing well, because I know quite a few different independent gym owners, and their members have been supportive, because what you're doing is putting back into the gym, which is going to benefit them when they're coming back. So I think the independent gyms are actually kind of leading during this, pandemic.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And because, like you say, it comes down to, the thing is, right, you could have one gym, a commercial facility that's got 30 of the newest treadmills in a row, followed by everything else cardio-wise, all the latest strength kit. If they don't have an atmosphere, if they don't have a community, then it's not worth its weight in gold.
Just a treadmill in a building.
Look at CrossFit as a good example of community-based gyms.
Absolutely.
To call them, right? And obviously CrossFit can be a bit cliquey, right? But at the same time, it's like, you look at how they operate. They socialize together. They do things together, and that's kind of what we've got at our place. It's like a family, there are people come down there just to have a chat and have a coffee and be part of it. They'll be part of the community, because the team that we've got, our team is like a little family, and that just cross flows into the membership. And the people really do love that place, and there's been a lot of really good memories and experiences throughout the years within that gym, both gyms.
Good.
And I think people would really miss it. So I think the members really, they took that in, and they realized that, shit, if I don't support this place, this is a place this is my safe place, my go-to place,
my home away from home, and they don't want that taken away.
There are people who don't have family. There are people who don't have family to go back to at night. The gym is the only source of the kind of people they want to be around. You think about someone who lives by themselves, works in a place that they're surrounded by people that don't really get on with their like or have nothing in common with. The gym is their safe haven. It's their community. It's their family. It's their people. And take that away, it's not a good situation. So thankfully, we had a lot of people support the gym through the first lockdown immensely. Now that it's gone to the third lockdown, it's like people are like, look, I can't really pay anymore. Like, look, it's fine. We have had quite a bit of support, but there has still been bills need to be paid. There's still been money going out all the whole time. So yeah, we had the support, but that's starting to taper down a little bit. So we'll be opening at a good time where we can get everyone back in, and we'll be fine. Because we've got like I say, a good membership, good loyal crowd that come to us.
Good.
So we'll be absolutely fine. So in a lot of ways, I mean, I feel for a lot of people, for everyone who can't use the gym at the moment. I'm fortunate enough to still be able to use the gym. Yeah. I didn't on the first lockdown, but I have since then. So that's just, I'm very grateful of that. But at the same time, this has really given me a nudge to work in my online business, this whole escapade. So for me personally, that's actually helped me hyper focus on my online stuff, because I always did a little bit of online, but I never went into it.
So is your coaching now solely 100% online based?
All online.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything's online, and I run it through a group as well. So for me, it's about how many people can you help?
Yeah.
You might be able to help one person really well. And there are certain things like, if you think of someone who deals with certain health problems, or someone who deals with athletes or competitive bodybuilders, you know, you can't train bodybuilders in a group because everyone's got their individual micro adjustments. It's just impossible. So if you're a bodybuilding coach, then if you're prepping people for stage, there's no other way but one-to-one, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of focus to give that person what they need to stand on stage, because you know what it's like. You need a lot of support when you're going to be on stage, regardless who you are. You need that third eye. But for me, the kind of clientele that I get, they want to have the community aspect.
Yeah.
They want to have all the other stuff. So the Modern Warrior program really that's only been going probably like a few months since the end of the year.
Yeah.
And it's picked up really well. I mean, that's just because I called it Modern Warrior, but and I started this group program. But everyone still gets individual workouts, but it's easy to program that because I've got a lot of things templated that I just adjust a little bit for the person. Yeah. So it doesn't take much time, but they all go into a group, and then the content that I deliver is to everybody every time. So if I put a training up, I record the training, put it in the video lab. Anyone coming on new then gets that training with the disposal, and everyone that's on it at the time gets it collectively. So there's this minimize the one-to-one thing. So all it has enabled me to do is scale my business to the point where I can help people.
Yeah, very clever.
So I'm only like, I'm doing live sessions a couple of times a week, which is 2 hours. Yeah. I'm only group most days, but posting and stuff like that. But the way I see it, if I can have less time repeating myself to one-to-one clients, I have way more time to then produce content, to then work on things that are going to improve the service for everybody. So it's like a leverage coach system. Yeah. And you know, I've got quite a lot of people on that group now that are loving it. They're getting really good results. And there's a lot, so the lifestyle stuff, it's the mindset stuff that is really valuable as well. That's what
so I saw that obviously you're mainly like, you know, I know back in the day you used to coach bodybuilders and do more bodybuilding. That's kind of evolved a bit different now. And I see that now it's like over 30s, you're kind of going more into like lifestyle and mindset, which is a huge market as well. You know, bodybuilding's niche is a small market, but obviously the market that you're going into and you're tapping into is so much bigger.
Yeah. And you can have more impact as well.
Yeah.
So you can have more impact on the difference you're making for people, because bodybuilding is great. You know, I obviously was bodybuilding myself. I still love bodybuilding, but you know, what's really in that as a coach, I'm thinking, well, I need to be doing something that I really feel like I'm making a difference here. Yeah. And I think from the experience I've got, is I think you should really get as much out of yourself as you can for the experience and the gifts that you have. And I've always been a very good communicator with clients. Something I would always consider one of my stronger points, which was getting people to actually do things. Yeah. Because let's face it, if you want to work out, if you want to diet, it's all free. You can get it in abundance of that online. Nothing is unattainable as far as getting your hands on, even if you have to pay a few quid. Most of it's free. Most of other things will cost a few pound, right? Yeah. You can get workouts to last your lifetime. You can get diets to follow. There are books, there are PDFs, there are downloads. Nothing that you need doesn't have to cost you money as far as the practical element of what you have to do. So if you've never trained before and you had to get in shape, you can go on YouTube and do all your stuff on YouTube. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. If that was the case, there would be no coaches. Everyone would just be getting in shape for free. Yeah. Coaching has a place because there are people out there who they could do that, but they don't do it. And then they go, why can't I just do this? Because they don't have the guidance to support the community, the accountability.
Yeah, so that's the key word is accountability, because I know for some people that I've coached for a period of time, and then they kind of go off on the road and then they want to come back, and it's just that check-in, or me knowing that if they slip, you know, we're going to have maybe a challenging conversation, but if they feel accountable towards something and somebody, it's more likely to keep them on track, because you know how easy it is, you know, when you're doing it on your own and for yourself, you know, oh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to miss this workout, you know, that there's no repercussions. So the accountability is key.
The other thing with that as well, you trim away a lot of the fat and keep the muscle, metaphorically speaking there. I mean, if you were someone who didn't know that much and you knew where you wanted to get, so you go, I want to get in shape, I want to lose weight, I want to lose 2 stone, or I want to build my body up to be muscular and lean, then the information's out there, right? But there's so much information out there that you almost need somebody to come down and simplify the shit out of it all and go, right, just crap. This is what you need to do that. And let me know when you've done it. I'll be checking in with you.
Because I almost feel that there's too much information out there that's accessible and it's confusing. I get people message me all the time going, I've just seen this on TikTok. What do you think? I've just seen this and this. I'm like, Jesus. I was like, you got to remember that people put out controversial content because it gets views and it gets more followers to their platform. Like, you know, they may not know the reason behind what they're saying, but it sounds good. It sounds controversial. They're going to have 1,000 people disagreeing with them, which is going to stick them up the algorithms on social media, which is going to give them more likes and following. Like,
it's a fucking game, you know, and everyone's there is no, let's face, one of the first things I say to clients when I take them on, I says, this is not rocket science, guys.
Yeah.
None of this is complex. It's all really simple. And when you just trim away all the crap and you're left with a few fundamentals that you have to do consistently, that's when you get results.
Absolutely.
It's just distractions, just shiny object syndrome. Because people get bored with one thing, then want to do the next thing because it must be better or it's different or whatever. It's like, look, anyone I've never known who's in the best shape possible, they live a very simple life as far as getting in shape. Workouts to do, very basic workout. Most of it, I mean, I've got a gym now. You've not seen the new place, but the gym I have is a cavalcade full of the best gym. I mean, it's full of kit.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I use a small percentage of that kit. I use barbells, dumbbells, benches, a couple of machines, but not too many. Absolutely. A couple of cables for certain things, but a lot of it's just a lot of bodybuilding. Most of the time for things like back, I do pull-ups and I do a lot of.
But the basics have always worked for so long. You don't need to reinvent the wheel and try and do different movements with different pieces of kit. Like why? And that's why, you know, when I set up my gym, it's very basic, old school movements because, you know, I do dumbbell press, I do bench press, I do rows, I do dumbbells. It's like I do like sometimes using some nice machines, but primarily dumbbells have been here for centuries and they've built the physiques they have along the way. So the proof's in the pudding that it works.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Ronnie Coleman. I remember watching a video of Ronnie Coleman and he just did he trained very basic for a long time. Barbells, dumbbells was most of his main work.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it's all about, you know, now it's difficult because, you know, it's the same with YouTube. I call it like false fitness. Now, I've had a YouTube channel for a long period of time and it's hard to grow. But I know I will guarantee, you know, 10 weeks time when I'm shredded, if I post a thumbnail of me with a pizza, McDonald's, KFC, like everyone be like, oh my God, he looks like that and eats that. That sells and that pains me inside because you know what I do day in, day out that I've done for the last 10 years is 6 meals. A lot of that is chicken and rice, steak, but that isn't marketable because people go, I do not want to do that.
It's like when you see a lot of people, the one I see a lot these days is this guy got from this to this, eating the foods that he loved. Read between the lines, right? If something sounds too good to be true, it always is.
100%.
So that message will say to the complete novice, this person gets in shape just eating the shit they love. No, they eat the stuff, but it's within reason. And a good coach will balance that out by saying, look, yes, you can account for certain types of calories eating something that's maybe not boiled chicken and rice. That is a fact. You can do that. But at the same time, most of the stuff that you eat has to be decent nutrition.
100%.
Right? So, excuse me.
So you'll be doing that for the next 20 minutes now.
I know, that's the thing. I've messed up there, haven't I? Bring it back now and do it again.
Perfect. So obviously, you know, before we go, you know, one more thing I'm quite interested in hearing about is obviously you talk a lot about self-development. And I know in regards like people that you kind of look up to and mentors at the moment, like, is it right in saying that Tony Robinson's somebody that you kind of look up to and you listen to a lot of his content?
Tony Robbins is like, I mean, he's probably like the most well-known and for some most highly regarded personal development guy that there is. He's like the master guru really when it comes to that. But you know, that because he's a massive scale audience guy, right? So his audience is everybody. Anyone who wants to improve himself, that's his market, right? And I suppose I kind of fell upon that because at the time, I'll be honest with you, at the time, I think in the military and through my life anyway, you end up being a certain way because you almost have to be. So to do the job that I did in the military, you have to have an ego to a point.
Yeah.
You've got humility, but you have to have an ego to a point. You have to be reactive to a point. So you have to live in a certain way that might not necessarily be in line with being a good fit for other elements of life. Hence why a lot of guys in the military struggle when they get out. But for me, when I left, you know, it was such a transition from the military life to Civvy Street that when there was things in my life that I was unhappy about, I would always ask myself questions. And a lot of the time I would ask the wrong questions. Why the fuck does this always happen to me? Why can't this be that way? Or it's all to do with the quality of questions, right? And it's one of the things Ronnie Robbins actually says is about ask better questions. So I think it was around about the 2014 time, actually, about 7 years ago, that I knew to myself that I just wasn't really, you know, the bodybuilding was really like a distraction because that gave me focus, and I loved doing bodybuilding, but it was really a distraction when I think about it, and I've been honest about it, because I needed something to focus on that I loved, that I could do, that I was good at, to mask other areas of life that weren't really going that well. And I think there's a lot to do with the business side of things. I wasn't really happy with it or fulfilled with it at the time. Within myself, I just knew that I was not living my best life as far as like within myself. There was certain things I could be really grateful for at the time. You know, I was very happy in a relationship. There was my little boy was in the way. There was that part of life there was things I could be really grateful for, but I didn't really feel my best within myself.
Okay.
And that's the only place that's the main place you have to be happy. So I started looking at, I mean, I'd always been a fan of reading things to do with personal development, but that's when I really started to lean into that type of world and focus more on personal development as a thing and implementing it into my life. And I just got into it, and then before I knew it, I was like obsessed about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Tony Robbins; there was multiple other mentors and gurus out there, if you like. And I noticed that a lot of these messages that a lot of the top guys were saying, they all come back to the same things. So they all had the same kind of meaning. They were just explained in different ways, but they were all from the same kind of structure and framework, because it is at the end of the day, you know, it's all comes back to the same kind of thing. So I become obsessed about really understanding how the human mind worked, why people did the things they did, why they didn't do the things they should do. And another breakthrough moment for me was that I had a particular client at the time who didn't get a good result. He didn't get a result. He didn't get the result that I had planned for him, or he had told me to get. It was a massive, I wouldn't say a fail, because it brought me to a bit of a point where I wanted to know more. And for me, the way I coached at the time was kind of like, I come from bodybuilding. There's a diet. You get on with it or you don't do it. If you don't do it, you don't get the result. If you do it, great. And if you didn't do it under my guidance, I would then get pissed off.
Yeah.
So this guy who I just could not seem to coach because I couldn't work out why I wasn't doing the things that I was advising him to do. So the strategy I was using, really, they would work for anybody, but only if they did it. Yeah. And when he didn't follow through, he didn't get the result, and I ended up having to sack him as a client, it got to me, really did, because I felt I'd failed at the time, but I knew something was missing. I thought the reason is because I maybe don't understand this guy. So this is why I then really got deep into the personal development thing, because I wanted to know as much as possible about what makes people tick.
Yeah.
And if they're doing something, if they're doing things in life that isn't serving them, isn't improving their lives, and they know what they have to do, but they're not doing it, I need to know how I can coach them so they do it.
Yeah.
So that's what it's, the human behavior thing is really the big thing that I'm mega interested in. And when it comes to clients getting results, it comes down to compliance, really, because you don't have to have the best plan. You just have the plan that will work for most people.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's all about implementation and compliance and consistency and longevity and all these things. So the way I coach now is a very, very different way than I did back then.
Yeah.
It's like the teach a man to fish scenario now. So the clients I get on now, I show them how to set their own nutrition up.
Yeah.
I show them how to train. Yeah, I give them workouts as well. But then when it comes to the mindset side of things, I give them a look into, this is how the framework actually is set up and how it works. This is why you make mistakes. This is why you make decisions that are not best for you.
Yeah.
And when you know how it works, you can then intervene and you can change it. A bit like I would as a coach, or you would as a coach.
Yeah.
Because you know how, if someone's not losing weight, you know why they're not losing weight.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? If they're not adding muscle, you know why they're not adding muscle, because you know the framework, you know the systems, you've got enough knowledge you've built up over a long period of time that you know the information that needs to be implemented so that person can change.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your own mind, what I try and do as best as I can is teach my clients certain things that gives them a look inside how this all actually works, and they can understand themselves better.
Yeah.
When they can understand themselves better, they can then make the adjustments because they know how it all goes together. That's the main thing that I would say has been a turning point for me in coaching.
Absolutely, and I know exactly what you're saying. From a bodybuilding standpoint, we're very regimented. From military to bodybuilding, you probably don't get people that are quite as disciplined and dedicated as us with that background. And then, it is about that adaptation and understanding that not everyone is as goal orientated as we are and as disciplined. So it's understanding those factors and helping them. And that's something that I make sure that I implement as well. And I don't expect, because sometimes it's that perception of people. They see what I eat, they see how regimented I am, and they expect that I want them to live my life, which I don't. I wouldn't advise that on anybody. It's not very enjoyable. No. I don't know why I still do it. I must love it deep down. but yeah, it's just trying to get over that barrier of joy. This is what I do for me. You don't have to do that because our goals are different. So absolutely. Great. Well, Lindsay, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've been an amazing guest. Very good conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like B-Neck squatters, etc., could probably sit here for 5 hours and just chew the fat, but we've both got busy lives. So yeah, thanks for taking the time out, mate. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely pleasure. Honestly, I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice.
Actually. Good, and I wish you the best of luck with reopening the gym and obviously Modern Warrior and all the success.
Yeah, thank you,
for the next couple of months. Perfect.
Cheers, JJ.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Thanks, mate. Bye bye.